Okay, well, hello and welcome. Welcome to another episode of the Imperfect Men's Club podcast. My name is Mark Aylward, and I'm here with my good friend, colleague, and co-host Jim Gurley. And like we always do, Jim and I had a really robust, interesting pregame talk. And when you wrap it around what both of us are trying to get out of life right now in midlife and as entrepreneurs and dads and contributors to society, as we'd like to think. And then you wrap the politics around it and the economics around it. And I think the thing that we came to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, is this whole notion of serving other people. And do we have or do we feel an obligation were we put on this earth to do just that? And if so, why is that? And if so, again, who do we serve? How do we serve? And what might get in our way as we start thinking around this notion of serving other people? So I hope I got close enough to the topic, Jim, that you can run with it from there, and we'll just pass the baton to you.
I think this falls over from a little bit from last week, and the one of my favorite quotes: "The most important conversation you'll ever have is the conversation with yourself,"
Yep.
and that person's a crazy person, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
so yeah. But to get back to your point about our pregame, it was service, and that service typically is in the form of a business, a product, or something.
Mm-hmm.
But there's different stages in our life. There's also different situations where we're serving others. Like you mentioned, you helped out a friend of yours. His son was in search of a new career position. You helped him out, right? You really what
Mm-hmm.
you did is you helped him build his confidence. But it's confusing because part of it is it's related to monetization of a product or service. Other part of it is just who we are. I think as human beings, we all want the same thing, right? We want belonging, we want to matter, we want contribution. I think that's an underlining human thing. Our whole podcast, the Imperfect Men's Club, the imperfection is the perfection, is the focus on self-awareness. And the more that you're self-aware of these things that are going on, it helps answers our drivers, our motivation. Why are we driven at this stage in our life? If it's not just money, which it typically was in our earlier years, then it's something bigger. It's something bigger than maybe we can even um, articulate. And I think that what you had helped me with last week as I was pushing something out to the world that I've been working on for over 3 decades. Um, it was obviously a national recording that you and I did together, and then I had to listen to that and then answer
Uh-huh.
questions. Fortunately, I edited it, so it was a little bit better than I thought. But it was interesting to listen to myself uh, talk or about this problem that I'm solving in our industry. Again, because you and I did it together, I think it was much better because it had some perspective that I wouldn't have had on my own. And then it was really you just explaining to the audience your fresh perspective, and it was good. Again, we got it done. I'm going to do that live talk in just a few more days in Las Vegas at a national conference. But I think the topic today, Mark, and it applies to you, applies to me, applies to all of us. Why are we doing these things if it's not just money?
Yeah,
What are the
no, I
drivers?
think your bigger picture comment is worthy of investigation. I think that you had, as you always do, kindly sent me a document that was a compilation of notes and thoughts that you had around this topic and related topics. And one of the sections here says there are people around the world right now who are seeking and searching and begging and pleading and quite literally on their hands and knees praying to God for answers that you have.
Mhm.
And, as grandiose a statement as that is, as intimidating as that might be, it's true, and there are other people out there that have answers that I need and even others that have answers that you need. But I think
Mhm.
ultimately, I don't think it's presumptuous. I don't think it's arrogant to think that my experience, professional, personal, experiential, as a father, as a son, as a brother, as a friend, politically, worldview, all of these things put me in a position where I definitely have unique answers that other people don't have. But I'm not even giving myself credit for that. That's just the way things fell out. But I think that I pray, as I've told you before. Have a close connection with God. My faith is important to me, and when I pray, a lot of it is just God. Tell me again what I'm supposed to be doing. Why'd you put me here again? Like there's quite a few things that I think I can do, and there's a number of things that I enjoy doing. But why don't you remind me again today? What do you want me doing today again? And it sounds kind of funny, but I have that conversation every day.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's some real nuggets in this document I created. Again, I create, like I always do, these 5 columns, right? And this one column is just snippets of either a transcript or something that I heard, and I dropped into this one document. So it's kind of a mixed match of different things. But I really appreciate you zeroed in on that one, because it's powerful, right? And God's divine design of your humanity, and where you're created to do something about a problem. So this speaks to there's a lot here, but I'll read a couple of the quotes because I give some context. What it's saying is, when you have this in you, are you going to die with it in you, or are you going to push this out before you leave? I really believe we are put here to make the world, to contribute to the world. And what the author in this particular case was speaking to is, are you going to let this go and not put it out? And so here's some of the things he said. So you just have to ask yourself, what challenges have you conquered? What setbacks have you survived? What tragedies have you triumphed or overcome? What obstacles have you overcome? And it's just focusing on that. Those pains, those were there for a reason, and you have an obligation to share those with the world before it's too late, before we're gone. And then, what makes you mad? What makes you sad? What makes your heart breaks your heart? What makes you cry? Those are signs that you went through something that the world would benefit if you shared it. It's why we did the podcast, right?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the reasons. I think that, as you're talking, I'm thinking about a number of the obstacles that I have faced in my life. And, as we were joking about before, it's like, yeah, okay, you got some obstacles, big deal. So does everyone else. Yours are bigger, it's smaller than some. It's not a contest, dude. That's not what we're talking about. It's more like, all right, I feel strongly that for some reason, I was dropped into the seat of a technical recruiter in 1986, sat next to a guy who ended up becoming a pretty good friend of mine. And I started helping people find work. And I don't know why. I mean, I could analyze with enough time and information how I ended up in that seat at that time next to that person doing that thing. But it's probably not worthy of much investigation. The fact of the matter is, very quickly I recognized this is probably what I should be doing. I'm a go-between between people over here that are uncertain and unclear and a little bit scared and need to do something other than what they're doing. There's a change that's precipitated this need to do something else, and it's scary, and they don't know what to do. And I know what they should do because I've been trained, and I'm personally inclined and emotionally inclined to want to help them get from where they are to where they want to go, which is, in that regard, a new job, a better job, making more money, ideally.
Yeah.
And I stuck with it, and then I just moved up the ladder. I became an owner of a company, but I was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I was
You were
taking these
solving the
people,
same problem pretty much your
solving the same.
entire.
These people who were lacking confidence, lacking
Yeah.
clarity, lacking direction, I was able to give them confidence, clarity, and direction. And in many instances, it ended up in the form of a brand new job, where I've had a couple people, as I've told you, Jim, over the years, tell me I saved their lives. And it's like, that's pretty cool.
Well, it's very cool. And if you think about it, Mark, your what you did, career placement, I'll let you elaborate on exactly how you want to describe it, but it's probably one of the most impactful things you can have on another human being, and that is getting them a position or a career, and the path of their life will depend on those events in time. So yeah,
It's
it's a big deal.
it's a, I think it's quite a responsibility, and I always took it seriously because there's this, when you reflect back on anything, things are easier to see more clearly because you're not emotionally attached to them. They're distanced from you. Is how seriously I did take it. It's like I got your reputation in my hands. You got my reputation in
Yeah.
your hands. Your future. We're talking about your future right now. This is your family, your home, your kids, your wife, everything. It's like I used to tell people all the time, both outside of my profession and inside of my profession, the thing that makes this one of the things that makes this so cool for me, this way I'm serving other people is that I have all. If you pick the top 5 things in someone's life, their job, their career, their profession, it's going to be in the top 5 for sure.
Hmm.
And depending on how you feel about God and how you have a family or a home or whatever, it might be in the top 3, but it's
Sure.
top 5 for sure. And so it's like we're talking about some serious shit here, and I took it serious, and I still do.
Yeah.
And the challenge now for me is, since I'm not in the transactional helping people find jobs question, is how do I translate that experience and advice to people in a different form while
Hmm.
still serving them in an impactful way. And before I forget, I want to go back to what you said about the story I told you about my friend. Very quickly, he asked me to help a young man who's a friend of the family. And then I said, "What do you want me to help him with? What do you want me to do for him?" And he said, "Please do for him what you did for me," who's a guy I hired as well and became a good friend of mine. I said, "What did
Hmm.
I do for you?" He said, "You gave me confidence." And
Hmm.
I think that was
Yeah.
there's a lot to that answer. That's a big
It's
answer.
it's it's huge. Confidence is everything.
Mhm.
The the game of life is a confidence game.
Mhm.
He or she who has more confidence in the end after life beats it out of you, especially our educational system, all
Mhm.
the wins. It is a confidence game, and it's hard to
Yeah.
maintain your confidence when everybody's trying to take it out of you, so they can build their own.
You
And
know,
yeah.
it's what's, and I know I beat you over the head with my divorce every time we talk about any topics
Mhm.
because it's so rich. It's such a content target rich or content.
Oh, it's
Uh,
like you said, next to a career, maybe bigger than a career. What else is going to
but
build
in yeah,
or not? The
in
opposite, right? Is a marriage. The person you're with every day. They're either
well, the
breaking
thing
you
that
up, building you
the,
up, or breaking you down.
the
Uh,
and the thing that I didn't really get for a long time, because I didn't want to believe it or I didn't think I was vulnerable enough for it to happen to me, is I lost my confidence.
oh, of
and
course.
and I was very confident, almost
Yeah.
to the point where I needed to lose a little confidence. I needed a little humility. I needed somebody to kick my ass. And
Yeah, that's good.
I didn't
That's
ask
good
her to
stuff.
kick my ass, but she volunteered.
Yeah.
And but no, there was so much good that came from that. But I know exactly what it feels like to feel confident and then to not feel confident in
Yeah.
the same body, in the same life. And it's like, holy shit, I
Yeah.
need to get that back.
Yeah.
And when I went and tried to get my own back, it was information, clarity, advice, the help of other people,
Yeah.
coaches, friends. I couldn't do it alone. I needed validation from elsewhere. So I've gone through what I now want to be able to serve other people with, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's why this column one speaks to you so much. I'll just share a couple more. We'll move on to the next column. But you are the most powerful position to serve the person you once were. That's pretty good, huh?
There you go.
Your soul is what makes you. Nobody is more credible in the world than you going back and reaching back and helping someone else who is going through something that you have already been through.
Yep.
That's good stuff. So let's move on to column two, because this is the one that I faced last week, and that's when I put a SOS call out to you and a few others, and it worked out. But and we've talked about it before. It's resistance. There's comes a point when you're pushing yourself, you're gonna feel some resistance, and you have to push through that resistance. And you don't know what's going to be on the other side of that resistance, but if you don't, you're not going to move on to this next place. So I definitely experienced that last week. Feel a lot better this week, by the way. But
Good.
this is fear. Fear is self-centered. You only feel fear when you're thinking about yourself.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and only one reason you wouldn't share it is because you're scared. You're scared that I'm going to say the wrong thing. You're scared I'm going to look stupid. You're scared that someone else is better than you. You're scared that you're not going to do the right thing. So I'm obviously trying to read this, which I'm not very good at, as you know.
Yeah, no, 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 no. It's all and I'm thinking it's beautiful because of what we have here. When I talk, you can think, and when you talk, I can think. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, no, I'm thinking about a couple of the people that I've served recently, and it was helping them overcome exactly what you just talked about. And in one specific instances was a young man who was unwilling up to that point to have a conversation
he
with a
was he was feared. Not to
he
interrupt
was
you, Mark. I just want
scared to
to
have a
it's scared.
conversation with with a superior,
I see.
and the fear was unfounded. He couldn't really even articulate it. And so what we concluded was I concluded it was just a lack of confidence, which was had something to do with the fact that this is something he'd never done before,
Hmm.
right? He'd never questioned authority before in his current place of business.
Hmm.
And I got to tell you, dude, when I get, and he asked me a couple questions, how should I say this? What should I say? When do you think I should say it? Tell me what the set, maybe lunch or breakfast. Give me all the context you can. And then let me let you know, okay, Mark, I'm ready to do this. I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm like, cool. Call me the day after tomorrow and let's talk about how it went. And
Yeah.
so all he needed was enough confidence to initiate the conversation.
Yeah.
And I was able to give him that
Well,
because he was
you were able
ready
to
for it.
help him overcome his fears, give him
Yes.
confidence to push through his
Yes.
fears,
Yes.
because fear is often our driver or our block, right? Our um, it, it it's when we stop. It's when we quit.
It
It's
does.
when
It
we stop
stops
showing
us.
up.
It
It's when
stops
we get
us.
scared. Yeah.
Well,
So
and
I
I
think
think
that.
the other two things that strike me is that the level of confidence he had after the conversation, which was very effective and ended
Mhm.
favorably for him, at least for the most part, it changed him like inside. It
Yeah.
changed him completely. It wasn't just what he accomplished in the conversation; it's what it turned him into inside.
Hmm.
And I just thought to be able to watch that was pretty magical, you know.
Yeah.
But
Very cool.
I think over time, what I've tried to develop, and I'm sure you've wrestled with this too, is when I feel fear now in a professional, like trying something new fear, not like this guy's going to kill me fear, but trying something new fear, it triggers in me, okay, keep going. That's a signal that you're close to where you
Yeah, that's the resistance that
it's
you
that
should.
that's this is different today. This is no longer just
Yeah.
fear. This is a sign that I need to press forward.
That's right. You need to push through it
Yep.
to come out on the other end better so you advance.
Yep.
That's the resistance. Yeah. So it's
Yep.
calling two is a little more of a marketing thing, but I'll do the best I can. It's becoming um I'll say clear, focused on uh, a particular topic or solving a single problem, right? The simplicity of this is very good because we have a tendency to complicate things and try to do multiple things at one time, and
Mm-hmm.
that's hard uh, to convey a strong message, uh, to be convincing or to have conviction for something if you're jumping all around. And I think we all do that to some degree, right?
Yes, I certainly do. It gets
Uh,
jumbled. It gets jumbled quickly,
Yeah,
and I
because
think
we're trying to either say it in enough ways, hoping that they'll catch on to one, and this was helpful to me where you focus on one problem, one specific problem, so that the question is. Let me just read this real quick. Question: if you were to solve one problem in one word, what would that be? And then answering the simple question, what is the problem you solve? And just get very focused on that one problem that you have a unique insight on, you have unique experiences, you've solved that problem, just like you were saying in the career, in your career, you knew that if you can get that that client confidence level up and to the best version of themselves, then that that would solve the problem to make the right match for the company. I'm speaking obviously
Well,
for
it's no, it's great. It's great. I love it. And I think
uh,
that the other thing that comes to mind, two things come to mind. One is, do we really help them gain the confidence, or do we just help them enough to overcome the fear that
mm.
they're still scared shitless, but not scared enough not to do it,
Yeah,
right?
that's it. No, it's well said, Mark. I mean, well said as in, oh, that's a fine line too, right? Because
Totally.
that one voice, maybe that voice when I reached out to you a couple of weeks ago, like, Mark, I'm losing my shit. I can't get this thing out.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, it's no problem. Sure, let's do this. Yeah, it was that one conversation at that moment, and somebody that you trusted that put you over the top, that went to that next
Well,
level. So
because you have a trust in me and a respect for me, and we have some experience together that a lot of different levels of experience. All you needed, and this is my impression, right? This is my humble impression. All you needed to hear from me was, "I got you.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
in.
and a little
I,
validation, right? I
I,
think
I
everybody
you'll
at
be
times
fine.
needs.
You know this shit like the back of your
Yeah,
hand. You
yeah,
know."
yeah, yeah. So people buy solutions to solve their own problems. That was good too. I do. We get focused on the problem, but really, what people want is a solution to the problem. You have to be able to, yeah. The result of the problem is what uh, ultimately everybody's looking at. Sell the
Well,
problem.
that's a big deal if you put it back into the perspective of marketing or messaging, and that
Yeah,
is
that's why
like,
I'm jumping around because this context is a
no, that's fine. I
marketing
mean, it's like, okay,
narrative.
so if my deliverable is confidence,
Uh-huh.
what does that look like?
Mhm.
What's the transformation if I give you or I instill in you or I help you gain confidence? That, well, what's that worth? Well, that's esoteric. That there's
Yeah.
nothing solid to that. It's like, well, what is that? Does that mean, oh, you got a new job or you got that promotion or you were able to start what's the next step? What's the actual deliverable? And that's where the struggle is for me, which is, yeah, I can
Yeah.
talk all day long about the things that I can help people with, but what's
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what do you get? If you do all
Well,
these
this
things,
this
what do
is
you get?
messaging in a very noisy world
Yep.
of communication. We have to be better messengers of the problem that we solve, or the
Hmm.
problem that we've gone all in on, that we have this unique ability to solve, whatever that is, right? That's what
Yep.
this is about. So
Yep.
I'm just going to kind of run with this because again, we'll just talk about messaging, and it says sell the problem as much as you sell the solution, meaning that you have to be good at describing the problem, and in a way that they understand that the problem that they have, you're the one that can help them. You have the solution to that problem. So I get this. Again, we're kind of changing gears as far as marketing terms. You have to you have to raise awareness for the problem, and by virtue of doing that, you will become natural, automatically, not to assume. I'm not doing a good job with this. Assume the source and solution. So yeah, find the uniqueness, exploit it in the service of others. So yeah,
Well, the
it's
the solution is you don't have the problem anymore. That's the you wake up tomorrow and all that concern and worry and anxiety is gone
yeah.
because you had that conversation or you got that raise or whatever it was. It's I think the point about bringing the problem to bear, bringing the problem some attention is that I think there's two things that we do classically in marketing or are supposed to do. One is you move people away from pain, and the other one is you move them toward pleasure, right?
Mhm.
And I've always heard that moving people away from pain is much more effective because pain is much more painful than the lack of pleasure. So
Mhm.
it's interesting, and the other thing, Jim, that's kind of related that just keeps it won't go away. So I got to bring it up. Saturday Night Live did this 50-year anniversary thing over the last couple of weeks, and all the way
Mhm.
up to it, they were showing a bunch of old Saturday Night clips. So I got to see a few, and one of the things I got to see was the auditions of people that became characters on the show. Some of whom they're famous right now, and others you've never heard of before because they went
Mhm.
away. But these people are sitting on the stage all alone with three people in the audience and it's dark and no one laughs, no one says anything, and they basically just say go. And they're supposed to do an impression or make people laugh or tell a joke or just show who they are. And they're on this stage and everything is on the line. This is everything they ever wanted in their life
Wow. It's like the
forever.
Eddie Murphys and all these now.
Unbelievable
This is their start, and
how nervous these people are, how
interesting.
ill-equipped they
Yeah.
appear to be. Some of them get engaged immediately and you can see who they are immediately. Like, oh, no wonder they picked him. He's hilarious. And others you're like,
But
why
the
would you
audition is just is you on a chair and
it's naked, bare, 2 or 3 minutes, no feedback at all. And all they do when you're done is they say thank you, and you're supposed to walk away. You have no feedback. You have no idea how you did.
Yeah.
It's the most it was nerve-wracking for me to watch.
Yeah. but look what happens, right? And then after that, if those careers, so many careers have been launched through Saturday Night Live. So
yeah.
The next one is just talking about the importance of a testimony or satisfaction. Like, for example, when you helped out your friend's son, he referred you, so you had credibility from a third source, a third party. That people believe you because somebody says, "Oh yeah, go talk to him. He's really good at it." The power of that. We can't underestimate that. I've said this before. We're the worst at selling ourselves. You know, that's the validation or the value of a third party reference or recommendation. So
Jim, I so appreciate you bringing that up, because I think that one of the things that I try to help people with is just exactly what you're talking about. Is we all have people we've worked with before that think highly of us, and maybe not all of us, but everyone I know, as it's pretty easy. But the idea of reaching out to someone who love, and trust more than likely, and saying, "Can you help me by saying good things about me?" For some reason, that's very difficult for me to do. But I'm also the guy that teaches other people to do it. So I'm all caught up in that whole. The irony of that is absurd. You know.
So we'll wrap up this last one. I think this is really strong. It's the 3 E's. So educate them, entertain them, and encourage them. It's the simplicity of that, right? Educate them, tell them something that they would never have known unless you hadn't been the one, the expert, or had the perspective. That's the education part. I see that. Entertain them. Yeah, everybody wants to be entertained with a story, with something. Make them laugh, make them smile, make them cry. Entertainment is a big part of everything. Is persuasion. And then the last one is encourage them. Encourage them to take an action, to do something, just as you did with the.
And I think the education piece, they're all very important. And I'm going to I'm going to steal those 3 E's and figure out how to put them into my day to day. But I think when, I've had a guy that was coaching me years ago and writing, in one of the things he would say about the first one, educate them, is tell them something they've never heard before that they know to be true.
Yep. That's good. Yeah. The other good marketing one is enter the conversation they're already having. Right?
Yes.
So they're already having a conversation. You enter that conversation with unique insight or some education that helps them achieve their desired outcome or goal. So,
hey man, the takeaways for me are, we're all in this together. We all seem to experience a lot of the same stuff. Most people like to help. We probably should all do a better job of asking for help. I know I should. And you're a shining you asked me for help. Not only was I willing to do it, I was flattered to be asked, just so you know. And it was very easy for me to do, and it seemed to be very helpful for you. So why wouldn't we replicate that experience again and again and again?
And then you must go in all the way on one thing, just going back to the basics, right? Just the unknown.
I'm gonna wrap my arms around that issue, that word confidence, giving people confidence. And that's too big, but it is one word, it is one thing. And I'm going to try and find a smaller version of confidence to play around with in my head, because I think that's the deliverable.
Yeah. The unknown, the unclear, the unstructured, and the unknown. Yeah. If they don't know you, you have to be clear, and you have to be known, but you have to push it out there, and then they'll know you for that. The well known.
Well,
Uh,
clarity is one of my favorites. I told you about my T-shirt. What does that mean? What do you mean by that? That's my new T-shirt. What do you mean by that? Most people
yeah,
are unclear, so I try to work on being clear.
yeah. They need to know who you are and what you're about. Um, they have to be able to know and learn from you. So that's it. Those are the last ones. Simple stuff, but much more complicated to do.
Well, I'm glad that I was able to help you overcome your trepidation. And when I watched you and listened to you while we were going through it, I thought you did a bang up job, and I'm looking forward to hearing about how this live thing goes. But
Yeah,
you're just
appreciate that.
overcoming all the stuff we just talked about, just being real.
Well, it's like everything. It's being intentional, right? These things you have to be intentional, and eventually, not you're not going to please everybody. Some people will laugh at you. Some people will make fun of you. That's just life. At the end, you just have to answer to yourself and the people you care about around you. So it's
Yeah, yeah. Stick your neck out there, man. Stick your neck
yeah,
out there.
yeah.
All
All
right,
right,
Jim.
brother.
Thanks,
I'll talk
dude.
to you until next week. Huh?
Okay. See you.